Man, I want to say it was, I know it was early 2000s. And this was right before Mariah Carey, like, went through the roof. It was right around that time. Because Mariah Carey was written off. I know after she did the Fantasy, that Daydream album, and she had took off. And because she took off, she had a very big public split with her husband, who was very controlling and was the head of all music, president of Sony Music, Tommy Mottola. And he was very controlling and always wore her and dressed her down in black. And while doing so, Tommy also was sabotaging her career without him. Now, while this is going on, her movie Glitter, that she had, her debut film, was getting horrible reviews before anybody had even seen it. They was talking about her erratic behavior and all of these things. So Mariah Carey had fallen off. And they was like, well, this is the time where artists start to fall apart. And they basically was writing her off. So she was connecting more to her urban roots again and going to lengths of hanging out with people like Puffy, Jermaine Dupri, and she was hanging out with mostly that type of style with her writing. But people had basically written her off as far as mainstream crossover media. They just made her like a relic. So while she was working in New York, and they were with, I think, Wyclef Jean's studio, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But they were working down there. Mariah was hanging out more at that time with Dame Dash. Now, at this time, Jay is supposedly retired. The Black Album had came out and did what it was doing. Mariah wasn't hanging with Jay. She was hanging more with Dame. Dame Dash became the guy she was hanging around the most. And with Dame, Dame and his big moves, his dreams, his vision, Rockefeller Records is still supposed to be Rockefeller Records, but there's like no Jay-Z around. Seriously, like there's no Jay. And Mariah's in town and she's cool with it. So it's funny because Mariah Carey actually used to find people. Like she would find, like, if people that work for her are not doing their job, they were fined. And they said she would fine her boyfriends. That's a fine. Okay? Like you gotta make up for this. So Dame thought it was funny and wanted to add it into his movie and wanted to give her like a part in the movie. Like it's only like one part, or her lines, it's all this speaking Just her doing that line that she does, because it's not a joke. That's how she is. And she was like, I just want you to say that again. Like, that's $1,000 fine. I had to eat this. The food was cold and all of this stuff. And that's another fine. So he had her do that for his movie State Property, because he was in the middle of filming State Property 2 and was trying to, get an extra scene and get some namesake power. So he called up Mariah, and then she was down to do it. And it was shocking. Like, man, Mariah's down to do all this, and her hanging out with Dame Dash, and they went to these art gallery thing. Like, they were like buddies. I'm not saying they screwing each other. Not saying that. So if you're insinuating that, that's not what I'm saying. Not saying Mariah was getting smashed by Dame. I'm saying is, I don't know. Okay, I don't know if he was smashing. I don't know if he did it. I don't know if he quit it. But I guarantee you is that right after that, and I do mean right after that, was a party in one of the grimiest like areas of New York. Like, this wasn't no bougie party. You know what I'm saying? And Dame is in there. Mariah Carey's in there. And people are stunned, like, wait a minute, is that Mariah Carey? Like, what is Mariah Carey doing here? It's just like, and you would never think Mariah Carey would be there. She was not in there super bougie. She was laid back, chilling, talking shit. And apparently, this secondhand information, her and Dame was doing lines in the bathroom. And I don't mean reading lines off a script. I'm talking about the Sniffy Jiffy, the Flower Power, the Booger Sugar. They was doing that shit in the bathroom. Straight up. And I had never known or heard anything about Mariah doing that shit before. So I said, whoa, that's different. I was like, it would make sense, but I didn't know she was like that. He's like, man, she was erratic after that. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, she'll start talking real fast and, moving her head from side to side. But that was her thing. She had to do them lines. Take her a bump here and there. And I was like, what? And she was stressed. And she had to get work done, And dude was like, I was more shocked at Dame. I never saw Dame like that. Dame was the get high man. But I'd never seen him doing that. So what started to happen was a trend. There was a trend just being set at that moment in time. People were setting a trend where they were being put on a pedestal by other people, but they never know what's going on with the actual person. And the actual person was going through a lot. So when the Emancipation of Mimi come out, by the time the movie is released, the Mariah Carey is back on top. The Emancipation of Mimi come out and just crush. Just straight crushed. And at the time when they filmed State Property 2, which was probably a year prior, it was like, what is Mariah Carey doing in something as low budget as this? When she's back on top, the biggest she's been in 10 years. Mariah Carey is on top of the mountain. Nobody normally does anything like that. 10 years after they highest selling album comes back and matches, you know, where she was 10 years prior. Normally you've moved on to 1,000 other women. But Mariah Carey was back. So this set a trend, you know, it set the stage for what many didn't know, you know, to be the norm at that time. But it was surprising to me. I never thought Mariah Carey was that tight, you know, so to hear that was crazy. But her in a hole in the wall joint in New York, I was like, God damn, Mariah Carey? You would think that news would be everywhere, but it just wasn't. So, but anyway, man, I'm gonna get out of here. I messed up and been doing this for a minute, so let me get up out of here. I'm gonna holler at y'all later. What's up, Patreons?